about points and whatever.
We're live. Yep.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. TFWR, what is happening? We are here live again for Ask the Ref. And we got my man that we affectionately call Sips on here. And he is ready to go. So I know, first of all, hi, how are you? How's everything going? How's the family, the kids? School almost done, I'm guessing?
Yep, things are good. Kid's doing great. He's got 1 week left. It's he's ready for it to be over, as I'm sure every kid is, right? But yeah, wife's good, family's good. We're doing well.
That's awesome. I saw where USA Wrestling is starting to maybe open up the gyms here. I'm going to have Coach Cody on next week, who's president of FHSAA, to talk about that for us so we can get a little more in depth. I'm not really prepared to read 38 pages myself, so I'm looking forward to having him on. And so last time you were on was 2 weeks ago, and they just released the new rules. And
bless you.
That wasn't good.
All right.
Never good when it sticks in your mustache.
Yeah.
You get it. So we released they released the new rules last time, and we did try to touch on them a little bit, but there wasn't really much you could tell us at the time because you received the news just like we did the day before.
Right.
So are you able to elaborate more on them now? And also, if anybody in the Florida Wrestling Room is listening, if you have questions for Sips, post them, and I'll ask them.
Yeah, so we know a little bit more than we knew when the rules first came out. And speaking with Bob Whitaker, who's the head official for the state, let's start with the singlet issue at weigh-ins. Okay, you do have to weigh in with the singlet. It cannot come off. So you will be required to weigh in with your singlet. As far as skin checks, it's going to be what's exposed through the singlet. That's what we're going to typically check now. In years past, you'd be down to your appropriate undergarment, and we would check the surfaces that were available to us there.
So wait, you can only check what you can see? Yep,
we can only check what we can see now. So, which, let's be honest, I think my take on that is if there was an issue, the areas that are exposed from a singlet would be the biggest areas cause for concern regarding skin infections, right? We're not infectious disease experts or dermatologists, so we're gonna look, and if it looks funky, and it's an exposed area where it's something outside of the singlet, then we're gonna.
That's what's important anyway, right? Because stuff inside the singlet never rubs that. Okay.
Right.
Sorry about that. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, and who knows? It's going to be a new world. It's a big adjustment for everybody in that regard. But like I said, you typically see if I was wrestling you and I could see one on your face, neck, or arms or legs, right? That's where I'd be like, I'm not sure I want to wrestle this guy, right? It looks a little funky. But if it's on your stomach or your lower back or something, and it's not something that's exposed, I'm not an infectious skin disease expert, but
well, there's a big argument that you'll talk to like people from like Ohio and the hotbed of wrestling, and they'll be like, "Who cares? Let them wrestle." And then and then you talk to people down here, they're like, "No way."
Yeah, well, who knows now with everything that's out there, right? With this whole COVID thing, and who knows what people are going to be hypersensitive about. But in regards to the weigh-in, as it relates to the singlet, that is the interpretation I was given there. So we have that. So there's some clarification on that front. So I would.
And there is and they were very clear on the weigh-in that now that I think that the feedback was everybody is pretty satisfied with that rule change, but Bob, the only objection that came up was the 0.2 weight kind of thing for the singlet or whatever. Has that been
And I would
discussed?
say
Or?
there's no, that, I mean, and not at least to me, but there are singlets out there that are like 0.8 ounces, right? Or something ridiculous in terms of lightweight. Doesn't mean you have to wrestle in the singlet you're weighing in on. But if you have a singlet and you're just going to have to make weight. You just have to be prepared to make weight with the singlet on. And look, as far as the weight limitations and things like that, as far as reduction has come light years from when I wrestled. I mean, when I wrestled, if I wasn't allowed to strip down bare naked, I don't think I would have made weight my entire senior year. But, you know, again, there's so many changes that have come in my viewpoint, just for the better of the athlete. You don't have those extreme weight cutting measures anymore. You know, that I did, and it was, you know, it's very unhealthy. There was no such thing as Coach Mike Dolce out there who devised a weight management program that is better for you on a health front. It was just put on as many sweats as you can and some plastics and run until you almost die, and then you should be on weight. So now with the way things are with the body fat percentage and all of that, I think it's a much safer place.
So when you're in there and let's say you're the ref on the scale, is there somebody that is with you in there to verify this weight that you're writing down in the book, or is it just you?
Typically it's the group of officials that are officiating that event, right? So one of us is typically writing the weights down, and the other is potentially doing skin checks and looking for hair and nails, also like facial hair. And then, so that's our checks and balances system there.
If somebody's like 0.3 over, you're not going, it's the singlet, let him go.
No. As far as that relates, if you're 0.3 over and there's more than one scale, you can challenge the other scales. So let's say I get on one scale, I'm 0.3 over. Well, I can step off that scale, test that scale again, and I have that same opportunity for any available scales at that event. So nice. If one scale is 0.3 heavy, you know, you can go down the line. Like at the state tournament, I think they have like 10, 12 scales. So if you're heavy on one, I don't know, you're rolling the dice with the other 11, but you still have 11 other opportunities to try and be on weight.
So talk about some of the other rules that came out and that you kind of learned more about over the last couple of weeks.
So there's really no rule change in what people lovingly refer to as the whirly bird, meaning a wrestler signaling for injury time. It still would fall under the eminent scoring positions, right? So there's no real adjustment there. I think there's just more of an emphasis on it, so people are aware that this is what referees are looking for. So if you're at 90 and about to go over and you're like, oh my God, my arm hurts, well, we're going to give the guy the points accordingly for that situation. So, and that would mean, so in the rule book, the way that was broken down is, let's say I haven't gotten even a 1 count yet. Well, you're going to automatically get 2 near fall there. Now, if I've gotten 2 near fall, I've gotten a 2 count because you stopped, because you signaled for injury time, you're going to get 2 plus the 1. Now, if I've gotten a 5 count, you're going to get the 3 near fall plus the 1. So that's where it can end up costing kids points if they're doing it just to get out of situations.
And then and maybe they just bit their lip or something. What about now there was some changes on the stalling, if I remember right? Was there anything on stalling or something about the fourth call gets you disqualified or the fourth call?
No, so the fourth call basically is as soon as you get the 2-point stall, you automatically now get the restart. So whereas in the past you would have gotten the fourth call, but then you would have had to wait for an opportunity where a restart would have occurred, like an out of bounds situation, a stalemate, whatever the case may be. Then you would have restarted with choice to the wrestler who was awarded the points for the 2-point stall.
I can't believe you're mooning this video, Daniel, and I have the camera turned the other way. So you just mooned it.
Kids. I love them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was, what were the other ones? I'm trying to remember.
I think those were the three major points of emphasis.
Everything else is just the hair now can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, now the hair can be whatever you want it to be.
Nice. Yeah. So I know I sent you a video last week that you broke down for us.
Yeah.
What was that kind of like? Did somebody spit
so basically
or something?
What it was is a wrestler was signaling to the referee that he had to spit. Okay. So there are instances like that in a match where if you're going to do it quickly, I'm not going to call you for injury time. If you're going to run to the trash can, spit, come right back, we're good. But if you're taking your time getting there because you're trying to get your breath over the trash can, we're going to go to injury time. A lot of times that happens with kids with contacts too, right? The contact comes out, he's got it on his fingertip. I'll tell him, look, or he finds it, you've got 3 seconds to put it in. It'll be my time, but you've got 3 seconds. Hurry up. Or just give it to your coach and let's get back out here and wrestle. If we're going beyond that, then we're going to start injury time. But I think where the coach might have been a little frustrated was in that video, he wasn't allowed to address his wrestler or throw him a water bottle. Well, because we're not in a timeout situation. He just had to spit. We're going to get back to wrestling. Now, if it goes beyond like 3 to 5 seconds, then the referee should be on injury time. And then this kid can take all the time he wants to spit in the trash can, catch his breath, whatever, within that minute 30. And then you can address your wrestler at the same time. But I think because the kid signaled that he had to spit, I think the referee thought this is going to be a quick one and done thing. Spit, come back, we're good. But it looked like in the video it was a little dragged out just because I think it was in either the state semis or the state final. So there wasn't a close trash can in proximity. So those are things you have to weigh as an official too, right? Because you don't really account for that happening in a match. So it's just
having to spit.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't get that a lot, but it happens. I mean, I've had kids who've had bowel movements on the mat. And that started injury time. They went to the bathroom, changed their singlet, changed their underwear, came back. As long as they're back on the mat within a minute 30 and the mat's cleaned up, we're wrestling. So, I mean, it's not uncommon.
I don't think I can bowel movement and be back in a minute and 30 seconds.
Well, it's impressive. Well, no. It happened on the mat. So,
so they already released.
Yeah. And so there's a whole cleanup that's got to happen. And, they were able to get that under control within that minute 30. And the kid came back with a brand new singlet on and we're wrestling. So.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. So Tim Maple said hair. So I don't know if he was telling me that was the rule or if he wanted you to elaborate on that.
Yeah. I mean, so the hair can kind of be whatever it wants to be now. There's no stipulations with the rubber band, as long as there's no like greasy stuff in your hair. So like hair gel or whatever kids put in their hair nowadays, pomade, all that stuff, as long as it's not seeping through and, doesn't create a greasy substance. Now you're able to wear your hair the way you want to. And again, this goes back to probably what happened in New Jersey with one of those wrestlers there that drew national attention from that.
Man, I sure wish we had some wrestling going on so we could have a whole lot more to ask you, right?
Yeah. Well, hopefully that time will come sooner than later.
I'm trying to find on here like top 5 controversial wrestling moments that we could play or something and have you break them down.
Yeah, I'm sure there are coaches out there that could provide you with some what they would see as a questionable call for sure.
Hey, so whoever's watching, there's like 14 of you right now. What questions would you like to ask the ref? I'd like to make this a little interactive. So if you're listening right now, let's throw some questions at Sips here. So what do you think is the ETA to get back on the mats?
I don't know. Luckily, for the high school season, it doesn't start until November. So I think we have quite a bit of time to figure it out. And it looks like DeSantis just released Monday, restaurant capacity is up to now like 50%. Gyms will be open. So I think they'll be on the mats a lot sooner than we anticipated. So it's good news for those wrestlers who want to go do the Disney National Duels that are now going to be held in Virginia Beach, and potentially the FHSAA National Duels too. They'll be there around the same time. So I'm thinking that it's been moved to August now. I think it's probably more than likely going to happen.
Nice. So Coach Lindsay Dahl over at Freedom, she says,
yep, I know her.
Not sure if it's already been asked, but do you have a most memorable match that you've personally officiated?
I mean, I have quite a few. Again, I officiated Elijah Verona's state final when he won on a broken leg, which was just an incredible athletic feat. I mean, for him to even get past the first match on a broken leg is just insane, let alone win the state championship, right? So when I officiated that match, that was really something was memorable for me. I would all the state finals I've had were really close ones, so those were exciting. I would say I think I've refereed a multiple state champ from Wisconsin versus a multiple state champ from Ohio. I had no idea who they were, right? No idea. I was in Virginia, and the match was unbelievable. It was college out of bounds, and it was like a 3-3 match, but it was like a knockdown brawl for what ended up being 8 minutes, because it went to the alternating 30 seconds, not the ultimate. And it was brutal. And after that match, the coaches came up to me and goes, "You have no idea what you just ref, do you?" And I go, No, I don't. And he said,
Go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah, no. And he said, well, I forget their names, but I'm sure they're in D1 colleges now. But he goes, this guy was a 4-timer from Ohio, and this guy was a 3-timer from Wisconsin, and they absolutely hate each other. And this is the only match that I've seen that they haven't thrown fists at each other. So I was like, oh, we'll get it. It seems like I did a good job controlling it then. But it was I have some memorable matches, like just being a fan that was an official at the time, like that Michigan Florida match, the Florida versus Pennsylvania match. Those were cool to officiate or to watch, and then also officiate. And then
Goog says, "What up, Kelly?"
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself? Let's see here. Do you ever find yourself where you end up starting to spectate the match instead of ref it? Like you're just like in total awe of the two wrestlers. And have you ever found yourself kind of fading into that direction?
No, but I have in my head gone, that was a sweet move, right? I mean, I've said that to myself, like, oh, that was nice. He got out of that situation. And like, there was a match, I would say even a match last year at States, I was doing a third and fourth place match in 1A. And this kid, it was a kid from Lake Highland and the kid from some other school, I couldn't remember. But this kid had a single on the kid from Lake Highland for it had to be the entirety of the second period. And he just could not finish it. The kid was just unbelievably defending it, picked him up, swept the leg twice, came down to the mat, but the kid hipped out of it. The kid still had the single, could not score. The kid from Lake Highland ended up kicking out, spinning behind, and scoring. That you saw the defeat just come out of that kid when he could not score on that move. That was memorable just because I was like, there's no way this kid's not going to score. And he could not finish that single leg. That kid was just unbelievable in his defense of that move. So yeah, there's times like that when we're on the whistle, and if somebody hits some unbelievable move, we're like, holy shit, that was pretty awesome, right?
Yeah, or like you're on a mat, I don't know, reffing somebody, and right next to you is like 1 and 2, and you're looking over there like,
yeah,
wait a second, I got to be over here.
Yeah, like you want to know what's happening, right? But the minute you take your eye off it's not fair to the kids you're officiating, right? So, um, like when I was watching, I wanted to watch that Rivera Tauschaar match, and I was on 3A, so it was real hard for me to get over there to see any part of that match. But yeah, like everybody wants to watch that. It's a shame that it can't just stop all of wrestling and just give
They
it the
should
attention
have.
it deserved. Yeah, I kind of feel they should have too. When I was in high school, there was a kid from Wakulla. His name was Shad Washburn. This kid was unbelievable, like ridiculous, unbelievably talented. I think he was undefeated. And Balmaceda had a kid from South Dade. I think his name was Eric Brown or something like that. I don't remember, but I think they were in the 135-pound weight class. It was a final at the Jay Steadwell tournament. I was 103 pounds at the time, and I made the finals of that tournament, which at the time in the late 90s, that was like the knockout of its time. It was a big tournament, and I'm in the stands. There were supposed to be two finals going on at the same time. The whole gym shut down, and the whole crowd had just focused on that one match. Neither one of those kids had lost a match in high school, and one was about to right then, and they were both seniors. And they would have never wrestled each other before, because one was like at the time it was like 4A, 5A, 6A. One was 4A, one was 6A. So they would have never seen each other in the States. And the kid from South Dade ended up losing, and Shad Washburn ended up winning, but the whole gym shut down. And it was like watching a heavyweight fight, boxing match. It was pretty unbelievable.
That's awesome. So I have a question for you. I know I had Coach Mick Ortega on.
Yeah.
And
great coach. Great guy too. Great guy.
Yeah, man. So how under the radar is that team and that coach? I mean, I told him that I heard you say he should be in these tournaments, and he's not.
Yeah, I like I said last week, they typically come to the knockout every year. But what I was talking in regards to their team last or 2 weeks ago was in regards to the state dual championship. They got to make the regions or the districts bigger, and the regions bigger, and take the top two from each region. Because like I said, with all due respect to the teams that ended up being there in 3A at the state dual championship, there's no reason Southwest Miami shouldn't have been there. Quite honestly, if they were there, they probably would have been in the final. Because their only loss, I think, in duels was to South Dade, and it was in the regional final. When you get to the state dual tournament, I think South Dade's first duel was, I don't even know who they wrestled, but I think they won like 82-0, where I think they won by like maybe 15 points against Southwest. So where's the parity in that? There's no parity.
Like how amazing was it to have Jesuit and Lake Gibson there,
Yeah, but again, wrong position to have that match. I refereed that match. It happened in the first round. And that goes back to they need to seed that tournament.
Meanwhile, it was in the Orlando Sentinel for a week leading up to that match.
Yeah, yeah, but that's what happened. You had everybody in the state wanting to watch that one duel. So then when you got to the final, with no disrespect to the team that made it into the final against Jesuit, no one was excited about that match, right? No, if you looked in the stands from the first day watching Jesuit Lake Gibson to the stands in the final of Jesuit, I don't even know who they wrestled, and I was there. So, I mean, what does that tell you?
I mean, if you want to know how big that match was for those kids, I had the little Basile on today, Braden.
Yeah.
And I asked him, tell me your most memorable moment so far. And here's a kid that's, I don't know, I think he's like 117-2 or something.
Yeah.
He's got overtime matches with Lokiho, whatever the kid's name is.
Van Hoke. Yeah.
Van Hoke.
Which was an unbelievable final. That was an incredible match.
And you know what he tells you? He tells you beating Lake Gibson in the duels.
Yeah. which I had Braden's match, his individual match in the duel, and he had to fight off of his back in the first period. I mean, he got caught in a weird position, and he was on his back, and the kid got he was down 5-0 going into the second period of that match. I mean, he ended up coming back to win, but you know, that would have been a match I don't think Lake Gibson would have counted on winning. They might have thought it would have been close, but look, they won that duel by 2 points going in, so that would have been a big barn door swinger for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. They weren't going to beat the Tuba Seals. I think we knew that going in. But.
Yeah, but down 5-0 and almost pinned Braden. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. That was an exciting match to referee for sure. I enjoyed that.
I know, and I'm pulling at straws, guys, here because I actually have a great wrestling mind on here, and I can learn so much from him. So I'm asking my own questions here because I want to fill my brain. But if you guys have stuff out there, throw it at me.
But to go back to Southwest a little bit too, their program's always been real solid. I just think this last year they've really produced some top talent, like the young Danny Martinez that from Southwest. I refereed his final. That kid is going to be unbelievable.
He's coming on.
Yeah, to see him grow in wrestling is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I got an appointment. I don't know, last week or this week or something, and it said, "You see how smart I am with wrestling, right?"
Right.
Danny Martinez signed up, and I'm like, "Oh, that must be on my list." And I had to go back to my list and look at yeah, there's a kid that so he said he's coming on next Wednesday at 2, so that'll be fun. Did you ref the knockout this year?
I've refed every year of the knockout. So that's every year of its existence I've refereed. So it's a really prestigious tournament, and it's my favorite tournament to officiate. It's great here in Florida for sure. Yeah,
and I was just talking to Coach Cater this morning from Cardinal Gibbons.
Yeah.
And I asked him about the knockout, and he had mentioned, obviously we all know how big the knockout is, but he had mentioned a tournament they have down south that runs kind of parallel to the knockout.
It's like South Beach Duels, I think it's called, but there's a college section, I think there's a high school section, and there's a middle school section. So you'll get some big D1 schools like Cornell and Missouri, I think, come to that every year. But yeah, I would say that's a good tournament, but I don't think it compares to the knockout.
Now, how close?
Let's put it this way: all the top teams from down south come to the knockout on that weekend. Why is that? What's a better tournament?
Well, I mentioned to Ortega. I asked, and I've asked everybody this question: is it getting as big as 32 or Fargo? And he said that you can't really compare it to those two because those two are out of season tournaments. He said in season you need to compare it to Ironman and Beast of the East. So how close do you think they are to being that prominent as far as that level?
Well, I think if Bird, and this is Coach Bird, who you should have on, he's fantastic.
I can't get him on. I've reached out to Pat Ortiz gave me his phone number. Ricky gave me his phone number. Someone else gave me his phone number. I've texted him several times. I can't get him to respond. So I don't know. Maybe he's not getting my text. Maybe it's my phone. Maybe I'm having issues.
We'll have to pull some strings. I don't know. But I think if Bird keeps getting the teams and the talent pool that he gets every year, it seems like that tournament gets harder and harder. And he gets a lot of the top teams coming back, like that team Woodland, the team Woodward Academy. I think he's got some teams from either Wisconsin coming this year, Virginia. I think he has a couple, I think something from New Jersey is coming this year. But then he always has the top tier teams from our state. And it's really cool to see how our kids stack up against the other teams.
And so Braden said that was where he got his only loss this year in the finals there.
Yeah, which in that final, I mean, I think he got too near fall a little too quick against him in that final. So, but yeah, that was one I thought didn't go his way for sure. I thought it was a little too quick because time ran out, right? If you go back and watch that call, it's really hard to get 2-2 when there's 2 seconds left, right? How do you get to secure a takedown and get near fall there? It's a little difficult to do with 2 seconds left on the clock.
So talk about that. I know you were comparing it to the Ironman and Beast of the East.
Yeah, I think with those 2 tournaments, they're well established, right? They've been there around for years. I think the knockout could become that. I like I said, I think in the Southeast, it's the second toughest tournament next to the Super 32, which again, to Mick's point, isn't even really a fair comparison because it's out of season. So yeah, I think it can be there. I think I think if we can draw some more of those bigger schools from other areas down to it, and it still allows Florida to showcase its top talent, I think it's great.
How can you, like, I guess if I'm a school and, hey, we can go to Disney World, spend a week, Christmas, knock out a tournament. Yeah. Like, wouldn't that be cool? Has Lake Island Prep ever been there? I've only been around a couple
Lake
of years.
Island Prep came there. Yeah, Lake Island Prep came there the first, I think, 3 to 5 years of its existence, and then I think they go to the Walsh, which is either the same weekend now or like the weekend before. But now the travel constraints that the FHSAA has put on the teams on how many out-of-state competitions are allowed to do will kind of well, let's be honest. I mean, it's the reason why they left, right? So, but it doesn't mean you won't see them wrestle in Florida anymore. It just means that they're going to be doing a lot more tournaments out of our state.
And how is that? How are those restraints going to affect the growth of Florida wrestling, and why have them?
I mean, I don't know if it will really hurt Florida wrestling, but I do think it will. It gives our kids more exposure, right? I mean, if you only wrestle the same kids in your county or the same kids in your neighboring cities, you're only going to be as good as the competition you see. Right. So, I mean, I think if you're constantly pushing that threshold to wrestle kids better who maybe have wrestled since, they were 5 in Ohio or Pennsylvania, that's a different league.
Which I think is why my coaches are my kids' coaches, which is why they go to George Jenkins now, because all the other tournaments that they were involved in are all around here, Masters, and then Lakeland, and Lyman and Lake Mary, and what's the school out by Alafaya?
Timber Creek,
and but then you see all the same kids, so they're trying to, like George Jenkins, you get to go there and see 40 different teams. So
I think, look, I mean, I'm no coach, right? But I mean, I think if it was me, I would want to see the competition that's out there across my segment. Meaning, like, if I'm 3A and I'm in Orlando, I want to get a good feel for the teams that are here, the kids that we're going to wrestle in the districts and potential regions. But I also need to know what's out there in terms of competition for my kids at the state level. Because if I never wrestled the kids from up north or down south, I'm not going to really know what to expect, and I might be underprepared. So just because I might be the king, big fish in a small pond. But when I get to the States, I'm completely caught off guard because I was beating kids handily around. But now I'm at States, and who are these kids? And why am I losing right now?
Well, and when you talk to the kids that do travel, they'll say that when we get to States or we start getting to these tournaments, we're like piece of cake because we've been tested.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it will. I think they need to expand that. I think they need to allow these kids to wrestle outside. Look, the majority of the time they're going to wrestle in the States. So what's it matter?
Well, it's not like they're going to leave.
Yeah, it's not like they're going to go join Georgia and be in Orlando. You know what I mean? So I don't get it. But But there are a lot of other states have those stipulations too. So
it is what it is.
Yeah.
So will you be up in Virginia Beach?
I don't know. It all depends on what's going on with work. And if we're back up and running full swing. If we are, then
Disney.
Yeah, if we are, then I don't know what I'll be allowed to take off. So it really just depends.
What have you had any? I know last time we spoke, there wasn't much progression there.
Well, they're gonna open Disney Springs. Well, the third-party participants will be open starting May 20th, and that's really the only official thing that they've announced. So there will obviously be some Disney owned and operated venues in play there, but they haven't released names or the amount of staff that they'll be calling back for that. So still to be determined.
Oh, it's just kind of
yeah.
You know, it's just kind of a weird time. You wonder, and you kind of mess with your own mind, right? Like you have moments where you think, wait a second, is this really real or am I dreaming? Can I just go out and play? And then you have moments where you're like, well, wait a second, this could be real. or this is real, right? So it's tough, but man, ask Mike if he likes it when I offer him my glasses during a match.
Who is that?
Victor Lorenzano.
Oh man, LZ. I love it. I'd probably turn around and tell him, you definitely need them because I'm getting the calls right over here. So keep yours on. Get those checked out. Yeah, great guy. Here's a fun Vic Lorenzano story for you. At the state tournament this year, okay, he gets hit for coach's misconduct, and I'm not the official, but he brings me to the fence. It's like I'm off the mat at this time, and he goes, "Hey, Mike, I'm usually pretty nice, right?" And I said, "Okay, where's this going?" He goes, "Well, I just went up to the table and I asked the guy about stalling." And I go, "Okay, I'm going to stop you. You've been coaching for 400 years. When has questioning stalling ever worked well for you?" Well, he goes, "Well, now you got a point." I go, "Well, so why would you do that?" And I said, "And coach's misconduct it's a warning. You only were hit once, right?" He goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Well, it doesn't carry over to tomorrow, so you're fine. Just maybe make a better choice before you go up to the table and question something that is a pure judgment call that's never going to go in your favor." No, he's not going to take away the stall call, right? Right? So why would you go up there?
So what is the wildest thing that you have any questions for the ref? Give me a question. Come on, got a question. Come on, do it. Do you have a match you want me to play for him? What's the craziest thing you've seen happen on a mat? Like refs losing it, guys fist fight. Like what's the most nuts that you've been like, oh, holy shit, I can't believe this is going on. Victor said but I was really nice about it.
exactly. Love you, Vic. Man, I don't know. There were some crazy situations where I was just watching, maybe not like as officiating, where I saw things just go absolutely crazy. Like I said, like the bench clearing brawl I saw at Disney Duels, Disney of all places, which is kind of ironic, right? That was kind of interesting to watch. I officiated Mawa in the Ohio Mafia match, and it was the first match. It was like 103 pounds or 106 pounds. The kid from Mafia was losing, so he just got the kid in the headlock like this. He's on bottom, reached back, which you should never do from bottom, right? Grabs the kid from Mawa and just starts punching him in the face as hard as he could, right? He got like 5 good shots in before I could stop and get in there. And I'm like, whoa. We went flagrant. And then that set the tone for that entire match. Like kids were going into the chairs well after the whistle. I mean, that when I was officiating that match, I let that one get away from me a little bit. That just took me off guard. I was like my 3rd year officiating.
So Zach Catalina has a question.
Oh no, this is going to be terrible.
Why are you so small if you have all those weights?
Because I'm lifting to get smaller. That's why. If I wanted to get bigger, I'd probably pick a lot of these up and just keep picking them up. But I put them down. That's it. I'm trying to stay as skinny as him. I'm trying to stay as young and skinny as him. He's motivating me as a challenge.
Yeah, where was I? Charlie, Coach Morgan started put like the funny laughing face.
Mm-hmm.
Catalina weighs 100 pounds though. Jason Seliger. Westlager said Catalina weighs 100 pounds though.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I'm cutting weight to get back to my old high school weight class around Zach. Zach's turned into the poster child for Feed Ethiopia, if you look at him later.
Where was I where I saw like these two? Maybe it was at Disney where I forget where we were, where you could tell things were getting heated between the two teams. You're buff. Catalina is pretty. Victor Lorenzano.
That's great.
Hey, do you guys want to see him hit the speed bag behind him? How fast can you go on the speed bag?
Pretty good. I boxed since I was like 12. So a good friend of mine owns a gym in my hometown. It's called House of Champions. But back in the day, the late great Arturo Gatti used to train there because they had to get him out of New Jersey because he was just going to he would party too much. So the Duvas had to get him out of Jersey. So they brought him to my hometown, and Arturo used to train there. De La Hoya trained there for a little bit. I
have the Gotti. I don't know if this tells you how old I am, but I have the Gotti Ward fights on VHS that I recorded myself.
Oh yeah. Well, I have my buddy Gus has some of Arturo's robes and gloves and shoes that he wore in those fights because he used to train at his gym.
Let's see. I don't know how well I got it.
It's pretty good.
But it's kind of loose, so, and it's not up hard. Yours looks like a tiny, small one.
Mine's like the smallest you can get.
And I'm not that great at it, and I'm fat. Here we go. Woo, look at him go. I try to get it started like this to see if I can do like the fast one. Yeah. So much fun. Yeah.
Do 10 minutes of that, man. Your arms are on fire.
I know. I can feel my belly hitting my knees. How do you feel about the new hair rule? Is C.W. Bailey legal now?
Who asked that?
Dennis Harland.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, like I said a couple of weeks ago, I wish they would have just let the kids have facial hair too. I just think like, why address the one without the other? You know, I just think you need to do that. As far as CW is concerned, I mean, everybody around just wants him to cut that wig anyway. So he should just embrace the scissors and the hair clippers and just do the right thing. CW, cut your hair.
I think if kids had beards that were, you know, the older kids that can grow a beard were out to a point where it was, you know, soft. But I think the problem is the scrub will getting that beard burn, right?
Yeah, I don't know what the difference is in college. I don't think they look at it as in terms of like a degree of how coarse it is. I think it's just like, you're grown up, here we go, right? I mean, I just think that we should have more leeway there.
Yeah, because college,
I've never seen a kid like use his face as a weapon. I don't know. I've never seen a kid just go like this, you know, while I'm going to get you in a collar tie, but I'm going to bring you to my beer just so I can grade your face. I mean, I've just never seen that happen. So I don't get it.
I have seen fathers to their kids do the beard burn.
Yeah, exactly. But you're never going to see that on a wrestling mat. So I just don't get it.
Dennis Harlan said, good thoughts on facial hair.
Yeah.
Oh, we have guests.
Yeah, my wife's desperately avoiding the camera right now. She's trying
My
to
wife
stay
does
out
the
the way.
same thing. Yeah, she goes right around. Yeah,
Yeah.
I caught her once and she's like, are you able to cut me out of that video? I'm like, it's 10 minutes into it. What do you want me to do? I can't just magically pull you out of there. Well, cool, Sips, man. This was fun, man. I'm sorry I don't have more questions for you today, but,
No, it's
understandably so, not too much going on out there right now.
When it gets season around closer to season time, I'm sure more things will pop up. But
I've seen Catalina.
People sending you.
I've seen Catalina do the beard burn as a fourth grader in youth wrestling.
I would not disbelieve that for 1 second, knowing Zach for sure. I saw Zach's final high school match. He practically Mike Tyson the kid in the ribs.
Oh.
So
that's insane. Well, hey man, everybody, he's coming on Friday, so let's get some good stuff on him. And if you guys want to go back into the vault and send some videos, send them. We'll break them down. We'll have him break them down. We could do some cool stuff. Maybe have you show us what the hand calls are and the 27 different, rules that, there's a lot of people out there that probably don't know that. So yeah, we'll have some fun until wrestling gets started. Where is Cipriano from? Charlie Morgan.
Vero Beach, Florida, born and raised.
Vero Beach, Florida.
No. Vero.
Oh, Vero. I'm sorry. When I traveled in the carnival and I used to work the Fireman's Fest at, 20 years old or whatever I was, we only looked forward to that because there was
Indian River County Fair. Yeah, Firefighters Fair. That was cool.
We looked forward to the orchards, like the orange juice orchards or whatever, and we looked forward to, I got to imagine 20-something years later, it's probably grown, but there used to be when you'd come over that bridge and there was like the river there where you'd see the dolphin jump in, and then you'd get down to A1A or whatever they call it down there, and you would see there used to be like a little deli right there as you're walking onto the beach, and we used to look forward to.
Oh yeah, Cravings, still there.
Yeah,
it's 100 years later, but it's still there.
He's from Munchkin Land.
It's got to be Zach. It's got to be Zach. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Charlie, where did Charlie wrestle? I think, did Charlie wrestle from Fort Pierce Central?
Coach Morgan, I believe, wrestled in Detroit. Isn't it Detroit? I just had him on.
I remember a Morgan that wrestled for Fort Pierce Central in the late 90s, and that kid was a beast too. He was
Charlie Morgan, where'd you wrestle in high school? Vic Lorenzo, you should have Chris Hayward on from Riverdale. Bring him.
You should, absolutely.
Michigan. See, I was right. I just spoke to him yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, not a bad memory, huh, Coach Morgan? I figured my over 40 brain could remember that a little bit.
You got it.
One of the best interviews I had was Mr. Morgan yesterday, man. What an unbelievable guy to talk to.
Yeah, good guy.
And man, the wrestling knowledge. And he is very, very big on growing youth, and he's doing everything he can to get more clubs around to get the youth growing into our sport.
Well, you want to make Florida better. You got to start them. You got to start them younger, like those other states do. That's part of it.
Yeah, man. Well, that was fun. We got to hit the speed bag a little bit. I haven't done that in a while.
Oh, man, there you go.
Not bad for a fat guy. Still hit it a little bit.
Yeah, got it.
All right, Sips, man. I'll let you run. Let's do it again next week, man.
All right, dude.
Should we stay on? I guess we stay on Friday schedule right now.
Yeah, fine with me.
Is 4 okay? You want to go later, or this is okay for you?
4's good for me.
All right, I got you, man.
All right, buddy.
I'll try and think of stuff during the week too to come up with like some crazy things. I'll start doing like research and finding videos where people are getting body slammed and stuff. Maybe we'll just bring on like WWE videos and say, can you do this? Is this legal? Can we pick someone up over the rope?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, buddy. You take care, man. Thanks for coming on.
All right, man.
Thanks for letting me talk your ear off.
Anytime.
See you.